welcome to the Sober Heathen Podcast. Friend and foe, I am the Sober Heathen. I'm just actually starting a video on Twitter. Going to see how this goes. So they're kind of coming in at the last second, but the intro has been played on the normal podcast, and here we are. Haven't done a podcast in a minute. Had a lot of guests. A few weeks ago, really good guests, like 3 or 4 podcasts in a weekend, and it was really great. And then I just haven't had the urge to do it. I haven't found the will or the desire to do a podcast. So those of you that see this video on Twitter, you're going to see the fan up above, because you don't have the virtual background that the video on YouTube will have. So this is the room that I do my podcasts in now. But anyway, getting back to not doing podcasts, it's just I don't know what it is. As far as things in life, life hasn't been better. I've been going to the gym, not like I'd want to. And so this is, I'm going to click that right there. I haven't been going to the gym like I wanted to go. I started out pretty strong, as I always do when you do things like this, like starting the gym and these new ideas, and then it just kind of fell off. But it has nothing to do with, oh, I'm tired, oh, I want to sleep in. I mean, I still have time to go there right now if I wanted to, but there's just something inside right now. It's the best way I can describe it is that spark isn't there for podcasting and doing other things. And I don't know why, because life is pretty good. I have a job that I enjoy doing. I'm actually starting to see clients that come in and they sit down and we talk about recovery, because here in 4 days I'll have 11 months of sobriety, from abstaining from alcohol for almost 11 months. So that's pretty great. Things in my personal relationships are great. As I tweeted or posted, whatever you call it now, on X, a few days ago, I got to see both my kids in person for the second time in 2 years. Got a couple hugs. It was fucking awesome. It was really great to see them. They're growing like weeds. They are great little humans. Been playing a lot of video games with them over the past couple days. But really, I got money in my account. I was able to do little things, for Miley. Nothing big, but things that make me feel good to be able to do. I got to do some things for my kids, bought them some things that I never thought that I'd be able to, because of, bonus at work. So really, there's nothing to be upset or down about. And I don't really think that I'm upset or down. Like I said, I'm feeling pretty good from just the gym visits that I've been doing this past week. I'm drinking less pop or soda, wherever you're from, less Dr. Pepper, let's just put it that way. I still drink, up to like 6-7 cans a day, but I mean, it was more than that before. I drink as low as like 3 at times. My potato chip consumption has dropped dramatically. Yet just something's missing. And so while I continue to look for whatever this is or that is, I'll try to keep it posted, keep it out there to try to keep this first year documented really well. And I've lacked on that in the last 3 weeks. I've avoided social media a little bit. I get on there, I like a lot of things and I retweet things, and then I'll go in spurts where I'll comment. But I think my biggest problem right now is just there's so many things that are irritating the shit out of me, and I'm not sure what is bringing that on. I'm able to recognize these things in my inner circle and people I interact on a daily basis. I can walk away or apologize if I seem a little short. But in social media, I just find myself, and I think everybody does this, find myself engaging in things that I don't need to engage in, and then I have to quickly withdraw myself. I've been doing some research, as far as, again, keeping this, just trying to apprise anybody that's listened to this, of where I'm at. I've been doing some research into other thoughts on addiction. Obviously probably the mainstream thought is that it is a disease and the only way to do it is ABC. I was never really sold that ABC was the way to go. I knew I needed help and I didn't know what that help was. Excuse me. And so I went to treatment several times. I dove into AA. I've showed you my big books. I have two of them, a softcover and a hardcover. I dove into those books, and I got a lot of information from the books and a lot of information from the meetings and people that have done the meetings for a long time. I've got a lot of information from guests I've been on the podcast. Um, I went to SMART meetings while in treatment. Um, there's a group around here called Peer 360. It's kind of more of a Native American based group. Got a lot out of there. Great people there. There really hasn't been an ABC, and I've talked to people, and for those of you that follow the Sober Heathen on Twitter or X now, I had a back and forth with an individual. I invited him on the podcast. We had a podcast, and he is who he is, and he's not the only one, but he was more aggressive than others. But it's AA. AA is the way or nothing. Um, and I just don't believe that to be true. I think it can be for some people, and if that's enough for them, that's fine. I got what I needed from AA, and I needed a little bit more. AA has not got me to 11 months. AA got me to, the 5, 6 months that I had in 2022. It built up to that, kind of gave me a foundation, and then I had my last relapse. And then, as far as AA goes, I mean, outside of the AA meetings that I had in treatment, I don't think that I've been to an AA meeting in these 11 months outside of treatment. So clearly AA has not been the factor in my recovery. Again, I love AA. I love a lot about it. Maybe I don't love AA, but I love a lot about it. And I love the people that are in it. I had great guests, really good people that I've stayed in contact with after they've been in the podcast, back and forth or in the DMs on Twitter. They're very into AA, and AA is their way, and that is fucking awesome. And I'm so glad that is what's working for them. But I'm migrating on to other things and other thoughts and ideas. One thing that continues to rear its head for me, and this might be just a personal issue, but in AA, it was one thing that kept me kind of wishy-washy on AA, and that's that G word. And as I talked before in other podcasts, I look at God. What worked for me in AA, when I hear the word God, is I created the acronym, and for myself, I never heard it before. Somebody else could have done it. I'm not trying to take credit for it, but good observable decisions. So I tried to base my actions on that. And then I also try to, not only do they need to be observable, but I'm the only one that knows my intent, right? So if I do something good for everybody to see, and my intent is just for everybody to see that, then that's not really doing something good, right, for others. So I think that intent has been a big focus for me on what things are doing. So when I talk about the G word, or I ask questions of somebody that posts something about the G word, well, if this is the case about God, then why this or why that? I'm not really trying to be a dick. I'm not trying to be Matt Dillahunty and go out head hunting. No disrespect to Matt. I enjoy watching his videos. That's not what I meant. But if you ever watched his call-in shows, he gets pretty aggressive with people. That's not my intent. I want to know why people believe in God or a God. I've done basically zero research into Muhammad or Allah. But as far as Jesus and the Christian version of God, I've done a fair amount, and it did nothing for me. And I appreciate and understand the intent that people are giving, or I understand their approach, and their intent is to say something nice. Oh, God has done this for you. God has you exactly where He wants you. God put all these things that He knew that He didn't give you more than you could handle. That's why you're here. Oh, you're struggling. Well, just give it over to God, and all these things. Their intent is genuine and to be nice, because that's what works for them. So I don't take offense to that. But sometimes it's like I hear these things, and it's like I don't understand it, so I ask why. And I really hope that when I say things like this, it doesn't discourage people from wanting to communicate with the Sober Heathen podcast, because I've had a lot of people on here that are pretty strong faith, and we've never had an issue, even with the heathen right in the name. And it could be that some people just don't know that heathen means somebody that doesn't believe in the Jewish, Christian, or Muslim God. Maybe that's it. I don't know. But I am a heathen according to definition, and I wear that proudly. That's why I chose it for the podcast. Um, so anyway, I've been struggling with, I guess, spirituality, but I don't even like saying it like that, because spirituality and religion are two completely hemispheres. It's one's here and one's here. Okay, so for me, those are completely different things. I can feel a spiritual connection in a group of people in a good AA meeting. I can feel a spiritual connection sitting out in the woods and just listening to the animals and looking at the stars and hearing the wind. Or yesterday it was raining here and we had the windows open and it was quiet in the house and you could hear the rain. That's spiritual to me. Listening to a good song that hits all those spots, at the right moment. That's a spiritual experience to me. Um, Religion is something else. Something else is where you go and you sit in a building or a group, or you read a certain book, or you go to a gathering with intent of having that religious experience. Again, my take, my podcast. So that's how it is, as far as how I feel about it. So, um, yeah, I had discussions with a couple people, and I threw it out there on Twitter. A hobby of mine used to be like paranormal research. And again, that could instantly lose me credibility with certain people. I don't care. I enjoy, I've had, EMF detectors. I've had night vision cameras, and I've caught a couple things that were pretty cool years and years ago. And I love the alien topic, as you can see. I wish that was me, that dude floating up there. I'd love to meet aliens if they're real, and given all the hearings that we had in Congress and all these things, where they said a whole lot of nothing, but they kind of said some stuff. It's really interested me, and I would like to do like a paranormal Sundays. So if anybody does listen to this and you have a cool story, get a hold of me and let's chat one Sunday morning. I really need to do the podcast, because I feel that in these 11 months of my recovery, since I decided to do the podcast, the guests and my solo podcast have been that connection, has been that power greater than myself, that has gotten me to 4 days from 11 months. A month and 4 days from one fucking year. And that is just mind boggling to me. I've had some guests on here too that have come from another approach, the Sinclair method. A lot of people disagree with that. I don't care. I think it's fascinating. I wish I would have known that information years ago. And I wish I would have been when I was given naltrexone to take. And I might be jumping around here a little bit, but I got a lot to say in a short amount of time. But when I had the podcast about the Sinclair method, I was given naltrexone by a doctor, and according to the information that the guest talked about, from Thrive Recovery, go check out the podcast. I was taking the medication in the morning, and it turns out that you're supposed to take the medication closer to when you think that you're going to drink, or when you are going to drink, and that's how it will actually help you. So, another part of my frustrations in everything recently is, well, the government says this, so it must be true. And then we could take a list of what the government says, a list of things, at minimum, at least as long as the things that they've done right that were wrong. Well, doctors say this. Well, those doctors say this, but these doctors say that. And I think it's frustrating to me, and I do it myself, but I'm really trying to watch myself on it, to be shoehorned into one idea when it is not guaranteed. Things that are guaranteed are, if I don't breathe, I will die. That's not debatable. Now, you could then say, well, a ventilator, you're not really breathing, it's breathing for you, and that keeps you kind of alive. Whatever. I'm not conscious and I'm not alive if I don't breathe. if I don't drink some sort of liquid that has water in it to keep me hydrated, I will die. If I get trapped on an island and I'm surrounded by salt water, I'll die. I can't see without my eyes. Those type of things are okay. Those things are black and white. I just feel it's too dangerous to shoehorn ourselves into one thought process and limit ourselves to the gift of the knowledge that we might get by being open to something else. So, bringing it back to the whole G word, I am an atheist in the respect that I am not convinced that a God exists in the way that gods have been presented to me. I'm agnostic is in the point that I don't know. But see, those words kind of get mixed up. I would rather just say I'm an atheist, but I'm afraid of offending people. And I think that's part of my problem. Like I'm almost pretending to be somebody else just to not piss people off. I think I just figured it out. I, you know, I want to spread the message of recovery. I think I have a good message of recovery. I know the people, well, almost all the people that have been on my podcast have had a great message of recovery. I know one for sure that had a shit view on things. But I don't want that message of recovery to be drowned out by the fact that I don't believe a God exists. And I don't want it to be drowned out because sometimes I get opinionated on why I believe that God doesn't exist. So I don't want, it's like you want to keep these things separated, but at the same time, if I keep them too separated, then I'm not me. I'm a fake individual coming on here and talking, and then my authenticity goes right out the window. So I'm Scott, I'm a heathen. I am not convinced that a God exists. That makes me an atheist. I'm not saying that a God doesn't exist. You may have those definitions confused. I think a lot of people think that an atheist is somebody that says gods do not exist. They could say that's still an atheist, but I'm still an atheist because I'm not convinced one exists. If you were able to convince me that one exists, I would absolutely change my mind. Does that mean that I would follow them and believe in them and worship them? No. And that, just to get it out there, if somebody convinced me or showed me evidence that the biblical God was real, I still would not worship them and I still would not believe them. And I hope that doesn't turn anybody away from the podcast. But that's just the truth. From what I've read, as it says in the book, I don't like it. So I almost feel like I had to say that. So there that is. So anyway, to not make this thing long drawn out 40-minute video like I do with in the past. For me, life is pretty good today. I can't ask for anything else. Monetarily, I have enough to do what I need and want to do. The people in my circle are great. I'm blessed to have them. Yes, I use the word blessed. I am blessed. I am extremely grateful to have these people in my life. I'm extremely grateful to have the people on social media. Rich Sullivan is I consider him a close friend, and I've never met the guy. I got to shake his hand. That's going to happen because I'm going to go to a Braves game soon, I hope, within the next year or two. So we'll hopefully be able to do that together. I consider him a close friend. Lindsay's doing great things out there. Landry, yeah, Lindsay Landry, I believe that's how you say her last name. Sorry, Lindsay, if I butchered that and you listen to this. She's doing great things, posting a lot of videos, putting herself out there, being real authentic. I am really grateful for what this podcast has brought to me. And I'm going to do my best to continue to do them. It's just, I have been working a lot of hours, and like anything, I find excuses not to do things. And I already feel better just sitting here talking to this camera and looking at myself with the sweet logo in the background. And I don't think you'll be able to see it. No, maybe you will. I got this phone case with the Sober Heathen podcast logo on it. So proud of that. So cool. So yeah, if you want to be on the podcast and you listen to this and you've already been on it and you want to come back and update things, just shoot me a message. We'll make that happen. If you want to come on and talk about paranormal things, if you want to talk about your spirituality, we can talk about that. If you want to have a side conversation and tell me, um, you just want to talk about your faith, that's fine too. I enjoy those conversations. I am not stonewalled against having a good conversation about that stuff. But I will ask questions, and hopefully that's not offensive to anybody. So, anyway, I'm going to post this. I'm not too happy with how I bounced around, but I'm going to do it anyway. Throw it out there into the ether and see what happens. I hope everybody has a fantastic day. Um, Even XRP, our good friend, I hope he has a great day in his mom's basement. Oh, that was low blow. All right. Anyway, hey, have a great day, folks. Love you all. Thank you for everything that you have given me through the podcast, through social media, as far as the Sober Heathen goes. You guys are awesome, and you're a huge part of why I'm 4 days from 11 months of sobriety. Thanks again.